Hey, good afternoon. God bless. This is Clay with Clay's AC and Auto Repair and Clay Motion here in Grand Rapids, Michigan, along with Jeff Powie.
Guten
Him and
Tag.
I, what did you say, Jeff?
Guten Tag.
Guten Tag, he says. I think that's German. Anyways, so what we got is I looked at a bunch of videos on the interwebs, and they're really long and complicated about changing this thermostat housing on a GMC Terrain, Chevy Equinox, and a Saturn Vue 2.4 Ecotech. We're going to try to make this simpler. If this video is helpful, which I know it is, please subscribe. Send me good comments. Keep the bad ones to yourself. I don't need to hear them, and nobody else does. Now, this is that you have a little bit of mechanical ability and some aptitude. You're going to need a couple things to do this job, and we're going to make it real simple. If you look at my engine, nothing is taken apart. We haven't taken the battery out. We haven't done nothing. Only thing that we did was we removed the thermostat. Now, we had a bad thermostat, and we know that because you can kind of see the inside of that is bad. Our car had lukewarm air. So this is where your lukewarm air is coming from. I'm also going to talk to you about some procedures on when you go to refill the coolant. I have an idea on how to refill the coolant so you don't have to burp it as long and you get nice good heat. We also had a check engine light. I believe it was a PO 126, but don't quote me on that. We had a check engine light and it said below threshold on the cooling. And the reason it was below threshold is we'll pick up this and you can see how that gasket on the inside of there is all torn out. I'm not talking about the outside one because that don't matter. And you don't need to worry about cleaning surfaces because when you replace this thermostat, you should get a new gasket from your local parts store, and you'll put it around the thermostat and put it in there and put the housing on. I did not remove a hose to do this. The only thing that I did is I went to the passenger side of the vehicle at the very bottom of the radiator and pulled the petcock out, drained the coolant out. Then we took a 10mm ratchet wrench. And this is kind of integral to actually being able to do this, and I don't see the ratchet wrench. Here it is. Gear wrench. Get it at your local parts store, a couple bucks. Now they charge about $350 from what I understand at the dealership to do this. And this literally took us 10 minutes once we figured out a procedure on how to do it. Now I'm going to also put in here hopefully a picture of the thermostat housing. I'm going to show you that right now. Hopefully that picture was helpful. Now, you're not going to be able to see what you're doing technically. From the side here, you might get a view of these bolts. What we did is we first removed the right-hand bolt, okay? We did that with the gear wrench. A stubby gear wrench might work as well on this situation. Then we took the gear wrench on the left bolt and we loosened it. Then we took a deep well 10mm socket, just the socket part, put it on the top of the bolt, remove the top of the bolt blindly, not seeing anything that we were doing. And we don't feel like we have to. Generally, when you take two halves of anything apart, especially something that houses coolant or oil, you have to clean the surfaces, but not on a thermostat housing. Most of the time, the gasket will just seal it up. And these bolts don't have to be super torqued. You can look up the torque rating. I'll bet you it's somewhere right around 10 to 20 foot-pounds. I doubt it's very high at all. So you're gonna, when you go to put the bolts back in, you're gonna give it a little quarter turn with the ratchet till it feels real snug, and then do that. Then we're gonna show you how to actually do the coolant fill. So what we're gonna do right now is we're gonna go ahead and put this back in, and then I'm gonna show you what I think about the coolant fill. Be right back. So we've already installed the thermostat. I wanna give you a little thing. When I took it out, it was just like this. So it was horizontal that way, vertical. And the spring was pointing down. Now I'm gonna try to put the bolts in and let you know if that's a problem. So when I go to install the right bolt, I'm gonna take the bolt and I'm gonna hold it in my fingers somewhat like this. And then I'm gonna use my thumb to locate the hole, and then I'll move the bolts into the hole and push it this way. Don't drop your bolts, because then you'll probably be taking stuff apart or be getting another bolt. Okay, so it takes a little bit of patience and dexterity to actually do this. Just so you know, I took the bolt and I raised up the housing with my fingers, and I put the bolt down in the hole, and then with my other fingers I felt underneath the housing where the bolt hole was, and then I pushed the bolt in there, and it started very, very easy. It took me a little bit of time, but a little bit of patience, and you'll get that bolt started. The second one was actually a little bit easier because even though it was up here in this location here, it was simpler because all I had to do was with my palm just move the housing a little bit after I got the bolt down inside the hole, and then the bolt fell inside its hole and I screwed it in with my finger. Now if it screws in with your finger, you're good to go. Then you're going to take your 10mm socket like I showed you earlier, and we're going to turn the bolts down to get them somewhat snug with our fingers, and then we'll take the ratcheting wrench and tighten them up the rest of the way. Okay, so now we've got the bolts put in there. Hopefully you like my explanation. Hopefully it helped you and you worked. And that was pretty simple. So we've got the bolts back in there and the thermostat's not leaking. We've pressurized it. We've got pressure in it right now. Prior to doing this exchange on the thermostat, we were reading 124 on our scanner as far as the temperature output. Now we have 180. So we're good to go there. Next thing that we're going to talk about is how do I get the air out of this system? And how we're going to do that, when you go to fill it, this tube, so this tube right there, this one goes down right there and then goes into the heater core. These are your heater core tubes, these two tubes right here. That one right there, and then you can see that part that's really shiny and bright is this reservoir. Now what you're going to do to get your air all out of there is you're going to put a clamp on this tube right here that I got the light pointed on. That's the top tube. Now you're going to clamp that off when you go to fill it, and the reason you're going to do that is because you want the fluid to travel into the heater core and down and then back up into the engine. Do that, then fill it up to your maximum right there, let it run. With us here at the shop, we actually use a pressurized thing to take the air out of the system, but this is how you can do it at home. So just remember to clamp off that tube closer to you after the three-way split. Clamp that off so you don't get any, so all your fluid goes down in your heater core, and then that'll relieve you from having air bubbles. If you were having the same problem with the thermostat as me, now you can touch the tubes that go into the heater core, and they're really hot. You know, not so hot that you can't touch them and they burn you, but they were hot. Now everything's working. Hopefully this video was helpful. Please like, share, comment, most of all, subscribe. Remember, if any other person can do it, you can do it too. Like me on Facebook, Clay's AC and Auto Repair. Hope it works out well for you. Have a great day.